talking of which, I believe I had a DMT experience without the DMT.
And
And
tell us.
it was remarkable. And it was a remarkable assault on my rational mind. I met some wonderfully creative, one of a kind people in West Hollywood, the real deal. One of whom very kindly recommended the services of. And there's a funny thing in that, you meet someone and you're getting along, but they're very convinced that you're in need of healing. And it's like, have you got something?
They are talking their book.
Oh, no, this isn't the healer. This is the friend. And it's like, lady, we just met and you're sending me to get healed. I mean, this is something I should know. So, I found that amusing.
Well, people always tell you to do the thing that they would do.
Yeah, join my club.
It's amazing how, if you ask for advice, the advice you get will be the thing the person would do. They don't think about you and your circumstances generally. But in any event, the DMT experience, non-experience, what was that?
It all comes together with this. So I met to keep the Smiths reference, a most charming man. And the intervention was remarkably modest. It's funny, actually, he challenged me initially by saying, so how much are you worth? And that fried my mind. These are not questions I would entertain. He had no interest in my net worth. It was more the challenge, and I guess it was more his ability to observe my discomfort, if you will.
It's a very provocative question.
Yeah. And of course, with all of these alternatives, I'm very aware that I go very open, and therefore I'm offering big revelations as to who I am already, because I'm like,
right.
Listen, I'm not here to fight it. I'm here to learn. I'm here for an experience. So let's just cut to the chase. Hugh Hendry, as a capitalist, same boss, getting divorced, living my life in a Benjamin Button state, which is to say, in reverse. Let's discuss. The intervention was modest, and I really can't emphasize enough the word modest in terms of breathing. I think we're all familiar now with practitioners such as Wim Hof, the Dutchman, who seems to be able to endure great extremes of cold and endurance. And I was asked to breathe with my mouth in and out of the mouth, but no more than 5 times. And then on the final occasion, I was sitting on a chair and I was probably kind of pushed back a little bit. And I was holding the breath, and my neck was tapped. And that's all. And then there was there chanting? Were there incantations? Maybe, but I went into it very familiar with the tragedy of the late 1960s, where we were making great gains as a society in the treatment of mental distress using hallucinogenic drugs,
right.
And how that was actually abolished. It was outlawed by the federal government. And I was familiar with a body of work which had sought to use breathing techniques to overwhelm. I'm guessing you're overwhelming, what do you call it? The prefrontal cortex?
Maybe. I mean, yes, there is a part of your brain that many people will refer to as the prefrontal cortex.
I had a previous experience which was very much to that. And so, which was very much to aggressive breathing intervention. And there's a whole industry growing up around this,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like the emergence of yoga, commercialized yoga for members of the community, to make a modest income, and they're switching now to breathing.
Andrew Huberman, Stanford, who, he's not the be all and end all, but he has a really great podcast about all of these physical modalities. And now he's quoting a study that's saying 5 minutes of good breath work, to be defined, is more effective than meditation.
I heard that, and I've been adding that to my meditation. I'm doing 10 minutes of meditation and 5 minutes of breath work. I previously consulted via Zoom with a chap in Brazil, and it was expensive. It was $1,500, and I thought
per session, I guess, per hour, per something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the Scottishness in me, my short arms and my deep pockets, as they say. And I remember I was thinking of canceling it, and I was talking to a girlfriend, and she said, I mean, imagine you cancel it and it's the real deal and it really changes your life, such as such as the USP of such experiences. So I went ahead with it, and so what I can say is that over the course of maybe it was 35 minutes of very exertive breathing, which is distressful, that you do knock out parts of the cortex or whatever.
You're not so much conscious of your circumstances and whatever's on your mind.
And that itself opens up, I thought, something very fascinating, because it's the notion of who we think we are is not necessarily what everyone else is receiving. I mean, I've always come into conflict with that. And in my real life therapy, we're really working on trying to work out what happens, because I'm sending messages and they're being received very differently from the intention of my initial, release.
Can you give me an example?
Oh, well, I mean, if we go way back to my hedge fund time, I remember having the head of our marketing, a lovely lady, for dinner, and maybe I was relaxing. I was trying to, and I was saying, what, I look at the office, I think perhaps I must be, if not the most popular person, perhaps one of. I get down with the team. We talk about soccer. I don't have any airs and graces, and it just caught her off guard, and I think she was drinking soup. And it was one of those, messy table encounters. She's like, "Oh my God, how can you be so deluded?"
But was it deluded? Wasn't it just something that someone typically wouldn't say? I mean, I can totally see how that would be true, that you would be sort of the life of the party in an office. I mean, it's hard to imagine you not being the life of the party anywhere you are, let alone a finance office.
Well, I mean, but remember, at the same time, Denise, keep in mind that that I have moments of great extrovertism, but I think actually in my life they're balanced out by very much the inverse of that, where I swallow up and I just can't bear to be out. I mean, when I was young, I can recall going into Glasgow city centre with a mission to, purchase some clothing or something, and getting to the shop front door and turning back. I could cross the threshold. To this day, I still don't fully understand what was so jarring, and I'd go home feeling a complete failure. So these are kind of the opposite. And I did read somewhere that actually the band separating introverted and extrovert is so tight that maybe you can, there's an oscillation naturally that takes you.